Shalom, Israel. Blessed Sabbath to you. My name is Brother Zerubbabel,
My name is Ezra Zelazar.
and we're children of Israel. Uh, we're back here again, on Sabbath day, bring out another lesson. Uh, we're going to jump right into it, considering today is the Sabbath day. This lesson is remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Again, we've done lessons on the Sabbath before. Um, Full lesson, that's hours long. Um, Going into the commandments, commandment 4. That's why we're doing these series of lessons, dealing with the 10 commandments again. Every once in a while, we need to go back and, get an understanding and break down the understanding of what the commandments mean because of I'm seeing and more camps are starting to understand and acknowledge that um, a lot of our people, both out of the truth and within the truth, don't really have understanding of the commandments, especially the 10 commandments. Um, in a lot of cases, they can't even name off the 10 commandments to you. You ask, especially Christians, you hear us say this all the time. Um, what commandment 1 is, and they can't tell you. They have no clue, no idea. Um, so that's why we're going through these series of lessons dealing with commandment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Uh, this is dealing with commandment 4. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And this is again another one of these lessons where we have to emphasize the fact that our people need to be retaught because the Christian churches continue to lie to our people. And especially not just our people, they're lying to the world. Um, I was pointing it out, the other day to my wife that, commercial came on for, I can't remember what movie it was. It was another biblical type movie that was coming out, and of course they had everybody in the movie, um, Edomites, playing the parts of the Egyptians and all this kind of stuff, and pointed it out like you see how it seems that the more the Israelites are out teaching the truth, they're coming up with more and more cartoons and movies and and things of that nature to continue to try and spread the lie about who the Israelites are, about the actual color of the Israelites and the color of Christ. And said the sad part about it is that people see these movies, they see these advertisements, and they don't even, even with all the information coming out now, especially from the Israelites, they're not even questioning it. You know what I mean? It's like they just go along with it. Um, so that's why we've got to constantly keep trying to teach our people, especially our people, um, about who we are, about keep repenting and learning and keeping God's commandments, because we're fighting a large uphill battle, very very large hill. Um, People are more comfortable with the lies that they've been taught rather than finding out the truth and having to change, especially amongst the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Um, this lesson is, again, for you, because as you go through the lesson, we're going to show you that the Lord only made, um, or, he gave the Sabbath only to you. He made this covenant of the Sabbath only with the children of Israel. Um, Although he established the Sabbath, the day of rest, in the beginning, which we will show you in the lesson, Um, when it finally came out, as far as him implementing the law of the Sabbath, it was given to the children of Israel. And that goes back also to something we've talked about before, that some of the teachers in Israel, some of the leaders, you got to be real careful about some of them. And we all got to, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can be in the heat of the moment, you're teaching, and you might misspeak, you might, say the wrong thing, might, bring out the wrong name, say, you know what I mean? Which happens to us all. Um, there are some instances, though, that we got to be real careful about, um, especially, things that can fuel our enemies, the apologetics, these other Christian denominations and groups that are trying to come after the Israelites. Because, like, for instance, and I just heard this again watching a video. I can't remember who it was, watching a video a few days ago where they were teaching on the streets, and they were saying how Job was an Israelite. And I had to scratch my head and say, no, Job he wasn't an Israelite. And I've heard people, say that about some of our other earlier forefathers, um, that they were Israelite. Like everybody, it's all Israelites. You go and you read the scriptures. All of our forefathers are Israelites. And it's like you got to be real careful when you say that, because you got to understand that Job was before Israel. Was even Job was in the picture, um, before Isaac was even born. Job goes back to the, he goes back, uh, before the Israelites were, the 12 patriarchs were even born. Okay, so he wasn't an Israelite. There's no way he could be an Israelite, even though they are from our bloodline, from Shem on down, to Abraham, um, Abraham to Isaac, of course we know, and Isaac to Jacob. But I even heard someone say, one time, that Isaac was an Israelite. Is that true or is that false? Was Isaac an Israelite? That's a question, I'm just putting out there. It's kind of like a rhetorical question. I don't really want an answer for it. I'll answer the question. Isaac was not an Israelite. Isaac was the father of Jacob. Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, in turn became the father of the 12 patriarchs that became the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. So you got to keep that in mind. Not every single one of our forefathers that, we read about, especially in the Old Testament, before Jacob's name was changed to Israel, they were not Israelites. So we got to be real careful about, um, just some of the things like that we say, especially when it comes to, dealing with the commandments, because the law was given to the Israelites. But that doesn't mean that our other forefathers weren't taught the law, because the law was there all the way from the beginning, from Noah all the way to Shem, and so on down the line. Um, the law was being taught, but there were certain aspects of the law that they were not following because it wasn't given to them at that time, such as the Sabbath day. The Sabbath day wasn't given to Noah. The Sabbath day wasn't given to Shem. It wasn't given to Abraham. It wasn't given to Isaac. All right. Um, in fact, I don't even think Jacob was around. In fact, he wasn't. He was already gone. He had already passed away before the children of Israel received um, the Sabbath day in Egypt. And that's another thing we're going to show again today. We just talked about this a few weeks ago. We did the lesson about the Day of Atonement about a month or so ago, about whether or not we can cook on the Day of Atonement. We talked a little bit about the Sabbath day. We covered a little bit about this. So basically, you're saying all this to say that we got to be real careful about some of the things that we say when we're teaching, um, because you know what I mean, put yourself in a position to where these apologetics, these people come against us and use our words against us. All right, so we want to properly educate our people on who we are, on repentance, and the keeping of the commandments. And the only way they can know how to keep the commandments is by learning the commandments. You can't keep them if you don't know them. All right. So this is, again, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. We're going to start it off again, as we always do, with Hebrews chapter 5, verses 12 through 14.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 5, and verse 12. And it says, "For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil."
And so, again, that brings back to the Christian churches that are teaching our people that you don't have to keep the Sabbath day. Um, you know what I mean? That they have our people serving on Sunday, doing Sunday worship. Our oppressors were able to get away with that because they understand that this was not for them, that they could do whatever they want. God don't care. God don't care if they're keeping the Sabbath day. God don't care, whether or not they're in idolatry and they're creating idols. And let me rephrase. I don't say he don't care, because he does. He doesn't want this world full of idolatry or anything like that at all. But he's the one that gave them the idols, if that makes sense. The Lord is the one that set it up this way for him to be our God, and for them to worship all those other things. The Lord set it up that way. So he's to the Lord, these other nations are nothing, and that's what the scriptures say. They're nothing to him. He's not dealing with them. It's the Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that the Lord is dealing with. Go to Amos 3:1.
The book of Amos, chapter 3, give me a second, 3 and verse 1. It says, "Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities."
Therefore, I will punish you for all of your iniquities. All right. So Amos 3 and 1, hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all of your iniquities. So the only people that the Lord is dealing with, the only ones that are required to keep his commandments and his law are the children of Israel, because we're the ones that he gave it to. So who's going to get the punishment for not keeping it? It's us. And we're living out those punishments today for our forefathers not keeping the covenant. Okay. So when we're saying these things, it's not something that we're just making up out of the blue. It's in the scriptures. You just have to understand that there are people out there. There is a worldwide, um, I don't even want to call it a conspiracy, because it's not, well, it is a conspiracy because they're all conspiring together to keep the children of Israel, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, from knowing who you are and taking your rightful place as the children of the Most High. Just plain and simple. So the agenda is to keep you in sin, because they understand that the more they keep you in sin, the longer they get to keep their rule over this earth, which is supposed to be you in that position. We are supposed to be the ones ruling this earth, but because of our disobedience, he's put the other nations over us. But in order for us to get that position back, there is something he requires of us, and that's to repent, come back to keeping his law, statutes, commandments, and his judgments, and wait for his return, wait for Christ's return. So our people have got to be retaught, because they don't understand what's good and evil. Our enemies understand. They know that what they're doing is evil. They know that they cannot allow you to become the righteous of the earth, which you're supposed to be. So they've set it up to make themselves look like they're the righteous, but at the same time continuing to spread wickedness and evil and unrighteousness all throughout the earth. And the sad part about it is that majority of people in this world are so comfortable with the wickedness of the way the world is, that when somebody comes, with, the righteousness of these teachings, it's hard for them to understand, because they've been lied to for so long. All right. So when they're teaching our people from the time of slavery that we don't have to keep the Sabbath day, that we can, go to church on Sunday or any day, they had an agenda behind it to keep you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, from knowing the truth that your God, because the God of this Bible is your God, gave you the Sabbath day. He gave you the 10 commandments. And one of those commandments was the keeping of the Sabbath day. We're going to show you in this lesson. All right, we're going to get to it. The keeping of the Sabbath day. And they understand that he only made that covenant with your people, the children of Israel, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And they understand that it's one of the 10 commandments, a very heavy commandment. All right. So it's not the keeping of the Sabbath day is not one of the least commandments. It's one of the greater commandments. All right. So remember, Christ said in Matthew 5, um, he that breaks one of these least commandments and teach men to do so will be the least in the kingdom of heaven. I'm paraphrasing. So the Sabbath day is not one of those least commandments. It's just not. And the Christian churches have treated it that way for so long that our people don't understand how great of a commandment this is for our people to keep. Because number one, it's the fourth commandment. All right. Number two, he only made this covenant of that commandment with you, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, the true children of Israel. All right. So grab Joel 2 and 27. Let's prove this again, what I said a second ago, that he's only the God of the Israelites.
Which one you're looking for?
Joel 2 and 27.
Joel 2 and 27. The book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed.
All right. And so there's someone coming around now trying to say that when it says none else, it's not talking about that the way we've been breaking it down. Look at the context of what it, and you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God. You don't even have to worry about anything after that. What's ever after that is inconsequential in reality, because he's letting it be known, I'm the Lord your God. And that's all you see throughout the scriptures. The Lord your God. I am the Lord your God. Over and 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 over again. So, and again, these are some of our own Israelite brothers that are coming along trying to bring the other nations and everybody else into this. Fact of the matter is, this God of this Bible is the God of the Israelites, which are the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. He's stressing it all throughout the scriptures that he's your God. He gave the commandments, his judgments to you and your people alone. He made the covenant of the Sabbath day with your people. Okay. You are the ones expected to keep it. Your enemies know this to be true. And that's why they're constantly trying to keep you from keeping the Lord's commandments by lying to you. And the sad part about it is that our people are so accustomed to these lies that they don't want to get away from it. They don't want to know the truth. All right. So again, teaching our people that discernment to be able to, to be able to discern the difference between what's good and evil. And according to the Lord, keeping the Sabbath day on the wrong day is evil. Okay. Got to be careful of that. Let's go to First Peter 2 and 2. Let's get through this.
The book of First Peter, chapter 2 and verse 2. As newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby.
All right. So anybody coming along this lesson, I don't care if it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, 5 years from however long YouTube allows these videos to stay up. If you're watching this, watch, take notes, be diligent in searching out if what we're saying and what we're showing you is the truth. Okay, be willing to humble yourself and relearn what you've been taught, because we have been taught lies over and over and over and over again in this nation that we're living in for years, years. Okay. From the time the conquistadors landed here, Christopher Columbus landed here, and had dealings with our forefathers from the Northern Kingdom over here, um, they've been lying. You know what I mean? They claim Christopher Columbus founded. He's the founder of this land. Amerigo Vespucci. They named America after him. Okay. Um, how many more lives or how much longer, do we want to continue living out these lies that they've presented us with? And like I said, they know they can do it because the Lord's not dealing with them. They can do whatever they want. They want to go out there and get all involved in LGBTQ. By all means, go ahead and, do it. Do you. But we're still going to show you what the Lord says. The Lord is not with the LGBTQ. But as far as our people, the Lord says no. We're not supposed to be like the other nation. We're not supposed to carry ourselves the way they do. The Lord is against that. If they want to break the Sabbath day, by all means, they can do it because the Lord is not dealing with them. It wasn't given to them. Now, granted, in the future when Christ comes back and we get the rule under Christ, yeah, they're going to be forced to keep the Sabbath day. Notice I said forced. They're going to have no choice. But today, while they're in rulership, do whatever, do whatever they want to do. Just like when you go back and you read about Daniel and um, you know, the decree going out from Nebuchadnezzar that whenever the music is played, they have to go down on their knees and bow down to the statue that they had built up in the land. Hey, like the Lord said, yeah, when you go into this other land, you're gonna see their idols. You're gonna, you know, they're gonna have them there. You're gonna probably want to be tempted to bow down to them, but you better not do it. It's the same thing here. We're here in the midst of Babylon the Great. We see all their idolatry. This entire nation is full of idols. This whole world is full of idolatry. We walk by you can't go into a government building without walking past a bunch of idols. That's how they're wired. That's what the Lord gave them. That was their lot when the Lord created the nations. He became our God, and all the other what do you want to call it? All the other so-called gods, the idols, he gave to them. All right. So, as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word that you may grow thereby. You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, please, we implore you, humble yourselves. Be willing to be retaught so that you can learn the truth and stop dabbling in these lies that are being told in these churches to you so that we can get our people up out of this condition that they're in. Our people constantly talk about change and they want change and everything like that. Um, you know, go back to when Obama was running for president and he had thousands and thousands and thousands of people at these rallies, chanting, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Do we want change? Yes, we can. Can we make change? Yes, we can. You know what I mean? Our people love the idea of freedom. They love the idea of being, treated better, having so-called equal treatment. But when it actually comes down to putting in the actual works that are going to give us that freedom, the true freedom, when Christ comes back, they really don't want it. They don't really want to do what's necessary. And as we're going to see, what that entails is us keeping the commandments of our God. Plain and simple. There is nothing else in this world that we can do to get ourselves up out of the condition that we're in. Voting's not going to do it. Marching and you know carrying on these chants is not going to do it. We certainly know looting and lawlessness is not going to do it. We've tried all those things over and over and over and over again. It's insanity, and our people still haven't learned yet. Um, so we've got to do what we can to wake up our people and feed them, um, feed them this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. All right, let's go to the book of Job, chapter 34, and you're going to read verses 2 through 4.
The book of Job, chapter 34, and verse 2. Fear my word, O ye wise men, and give ear unto me, ye that have knowledge. For the earth trieth words, as the
For the
mouth for the ear trieth words, as the mouth tasted meat. Let us choose to us judgment. Let us know among ourselves what is good.
Let us know among ourselves what is good. So again, when we were just reading Hebrews 5 and 12 through 14, and it says, strong meat belongeth to those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. That meat are the words that are spoken, whether it's this word that we're bringing out or you're listening to other words. Um, but for a lot of our people, you're not ready for that strong meat. All right, is making that comparison. You're 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 just not you're not ready for it, and that's one of the problems that our people want to bypass the milk and go straight to the meat, and in so doing, not clearly understanding what it is that the Lord expects of us. Let us choose to us judgment. Let us know among ourselves what is good. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 6, and you're going to read verse 12.
Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 6, and verse 12. And it says, for who knoweth what is good for man in this life, all the days of his vain life, which he spendeth as a shadow? For who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun?
All right, so who knows what's good for a man in this life? Well, we can show you out of the scriptures what the Lord says is good for a man. He's the one that created us. He created the Israelites, you so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. He created all the nations. And he told us what's good for us. He's shown us what's good for us. The problem is that our people refuse to listen. Our people refuse to take a step back and open their eyes and open their ears and see and hear what's going on around us in this world. Because there are a lot of people in this world that do not have our best interest at heart. They tell us that they know what's good for us, and that's the problem, is that we want to sit back and wait for America's Supreme Court, or their Supreme Court justices to pass laws that are gonna help us, and you know what I mean. we're waiting for America to feed and nurture us, when the only thing that's going to do that is the word of God. Because when we look at what America's fed us with, what America's nurtured us in, America's nurtured us into unrighteousness, into wickedness. They have America has not nurtured us with righteousness. They haven't done it. America hasn't fed us with milk. America's been feeding us with rotten milk. We're not America's children. So America don't care to give us the leftovers. And we refuse to understand and see that this life that we are living is so short. It goes by so quick. It goes by fast. If you're in your mid 40s or 50s, or in later, and you think back, especially after you hit 50, and you think back on life, and you be like, man, this went by quick. When it says that our life is vain, and it's, we spend it as a shadow, how quickly does a shadow appear and disappear? It's quick. We're not here that long. As it says, for who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? Who can tell us what's going to be here after us? Only the Lord knows what's going to be here after we're done, after our days are spent. I don't know what your life is, what's going to, you know what I mean? What's going to happen after I'm gone. I don't know. But while I'm here, I need to make sure that I'm doing everything the Lord told me to do. That's what we all are supposed to be doing. And I'm not saying that we're at that point, because none of us are keeping God's commandments 100%. None of us are. All right. So, for who knows what is good for man in this life? All the days of his vain life, which he spendeth as a shadow. For who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? Let's go to the book of Micah. We're going to go to chapter 6 and read verse 8.
The book of Micah, chapter 6 and verse 8. He had showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God.
All right. So we just read in Ecclesiastes 6 and 12, for who can show a man what is good in this life? Told it, nobody, the Lord can. And we only can show you through his word. That's what he left for us. And in his word, it's proving what we were just saying. He had showed thee, O man, what is good. The Lord has showed us what's good. America's not going to show us what's good. China's not going to show us what's good. Africa's not going to show us what's good. Japan's not going to show us what's good. None of these other nations. It doesn't matter if it's Russia. Don't matter if it's Germany. Don't matter if it's the Philippines. You know what I mean? That none of these other nations, Cambodia, Vietnam, Korea, it doesn't matter. France, Switzerland, you go on and on. None of these nations are going to show us what's good. You go to these churches, are they showing you and telling you what's good? Are they? Our people have been in these Christian churches, what do they call it? Ecclesiastical, Protestant, Methodist, Mormon, Seventh-day Adventist. You've got the Jehovah's Witness. Methodist, did I say that already? Baptist. You go on down the line with all of these different denominations of Christianity. And are they showing you what's good according to God? They're not doing it. And he's telling us right here in Micah 6 and 8, he had showed thee, O man, what is good. And what doth the Lord require of thee? But to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. All right. Um, I don't even know why I didn't put this in there, but go to Romans 7 and 12. He
The
says
book
to
of
do justly and to do good. What is just and good?
the book of Romans, chapter 7 and verse 12. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandments holy and just and good.
So, what is it good that the Lord has showed us that we should be doing? Keeping his commandments and keeping his law. What does it mean to be doing, to do justly? Because the law and the commandments are just and good. See how this all works out when you actually understand how the Lord works and how we're expected to get wisdom and knowledge and understanding of these precepts of this law, how we're supposed to get understanding of this book that he left for us. He left his word. He hath showed thee, O man, or O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. Desire the sincere milk of the word. Be willing to humble yourself and relearn all these bad things that we've been taught in America. Let's go to Psalms 37. And you're going to read verses 23 and 24.
The book of Psalms, chapter 37 and verse 23. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighted in his way. Although he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand.
The steps of a good man, because we just read about, he told us in what way we should walk. Just told us what it means to be good. So if you're doing good, what is it that makes you a good man? Keeping the commandments. So the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighted in his way. So a good man is going to delight in the way the Lord sends him. That's one of the problems that we ran into to begin with, is that we had no delight in the keeping of the commandments of the Lord. That's why he put these curses on us. What is that? Go to Deuteronomy 28. Was that 46, 45? Deuteronomy 28. And start at 45 and read up to 48.
Okay. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 45. Moreover, all of these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which I command thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
So he told us that these curses would come upon us because we served the Lord our God without joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all the things that he did for us. He provided uh, a land, he provided food, clothing, shelter, everything that we needed in this life to sustain ourselves. And it wasn't enough for our people. Our people grumbled and complained, they murmured. Nothing was good enough. All right. So, well, he said, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Our people right now are, I guess you could call it a crisis. The government shut down. Suddenly, women and children aren't getting their food benefits. Basically, you kind of call it welfare benefits that um, they were used to getting the handout from our enemy, and they're going crazy. Don't know what to do. Begging Trump and the Democrats and Republicans and the Congress and all, just get the government back open. Give us back our snap. They're failing to do one thing, the thing that matters most. How many of our people, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, went into their quiet place, turned towards Jerusalem, put their hands up in the air, bowed their hair, not their hair, bowed their head down, and actually opened up and prayed to the Most High and put their trust in Him that they would be taken care of during this, time of need. How many of them you think did that? While you're seeing all the YouTube and TikTok videos popping up of, our people all over the US complaining about not getting their benefits. You're just proving the point right here of what Deuteronomy 28 and 45 through 48 has told us. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. I guarantee you, if Trump and them gave they made sure everybody had benefits yesterday, guess what our people would be doing right now, and probably and most of them are probably doing right now in the stores, buying and selling, breaking the Sabbath day, breaking the Sabbath day. If they say, you know what, we're going to make sure we get you these benefits in your account, if it was Thursday, by tomorrow, by Friday, you'll have it in your account and you could be shopping on Saturday.
Hmm.
Our people will they'd be ecstatic. They would be jumping for joy. Walmart, Target, whatever other food mart you may have in your area will be full of our people. And right now is probably they are full of our people right now. Shopping, breaking the Sabbath day. And this is the reason why we're going through these things. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. These curses serve as a sign for us to know who the real children of Israel are. because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger. See, Trump and all of these people, they just showed you who's in control. They tell you when you're going to be able to eat. They're in control if you're going to have those benefits to go and buy food, water, juice, soda, coffee, whatever it is you want to drink, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness. You want to buy those clothes, you want to get those clothes, you want to have money for those clothes. We got to go to our enemies. And why did he say that? Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Our people are so destroyed that the moment they get those benefits, like I said, if you would have made sure they got distributed yesterday, our people be in the stores right now breaking the Lord's commandment, not caring that this is the reason why we're in the condition that we're in to begin with, because we did not want to joyfully serve the Lord our God. So let me go back to Psalms 37 and back to 23 and 24. Go ahead and read it one more time.
The book of Psalms. Second. The book of Psalms, chapter 37 and verse 23. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighted in his ways. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand.
So what are you going to do if you fall? Because we know some of our people is going to happen. A lot of our people are in the stores right now breaking the Lord's commandment. Right now, they're out there buying and selling, doing Lord knows what on the Sabbath. Last night, probably in the clubs, in the strip clubs, partying, drinking, smoking dope, committing fornication, committing all kinds of adultery, breaking the Lord's commandments. But the Lord is saying, though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. That's if you're a good man. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Let's go to Proverbs 10. You're going to read verses 8 through 9.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 10 and verse 8. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a party fool shall fall.
A prating fool.
Perverted his way. Say that again.
You cut out. It
He that
says, but
walketh uprightly walketh surely.
you there? It looks like something happened where you there?
Yes.
Or he like disappeared for a second. So we couldn't, it was
Mm,
cutting out. But what I was trying to say is on verse 10 where it says, but a prating fool shall fall. You said parting. Go ahead and read it one more time.
oh,
Uh, 8, what is that? 10 and 8 through 9.
okay. The book of Proverbs, chapter 10 and verse 8. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a parting fool shall fall. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that uh, perverteth his ways shall be known.
All right. So it actually says prating. It keeps saying parting. So the wise in heart will receive commandments. So as it says, the wise in heart will receive commandments. So are you going to be one that's going to humble yourself, that's going to desire the sincere milk of the word so that you can grow in wisdom? Are you going to hear the words of the wise and increase your learning? Are you going to be somebody who's going to just turn the back and be like, you know what, I don't want to hear that foolishness. I don't want to hear that nonsense. But the Lord is saying that if you don't want to hear it, you don't want to change, you don't want to learn, you basically like the position that you're in, you like the position that your people are in, you feel comfortable the way the world is going, you like being on the bottom, you like being treated as a third, fourth, fifth class citizen in this nation, you like the position that you're in. The wise in heart will receive commandments. So which one are you going to be? Are you going to want to receive the commandments, or are you going to scoff? It's crazy how many videos are popping up now of our brothers out of, on the streets teaching, and the number of people, especially amongst the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that are coming against them more and more and not wanting to hear the commandments of the Lord at all. What they're doing is working to a point where, they're making sure that they put the lies out there. The churches are fighting back because they were losing so many members that they had to come up with better lies. And these lies are working because you can see how, people are, so-called blacks and Hispanics putting videos up on TikTok and YouTube talking about the Israelites, the Israelites coming with that stupid doctrine, and it's crazy. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known. Are you going to fall? You're going to let yourself be one that falls? We go to Proverbs 3 and 1.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 3 and verse 1. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments.
But let thine heart keep my commandments. The Lord's telling us, my son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. We have to keep the commandments. We have to. If we want to get ourselves up out of the condition that we're in, we've got to come back to keeping the laws of our God. Nothing else is going to get us out of the condition we're in. Again, voting's not going to do it. Increasing our economic power isn't going to do it. Marching isn't going to do it. Robbing and looting and getting out of control is not going to do it. Relying on the government's not going to do it. Relying on these lying Christian pastors is not going to do it. Allah and Islam is not going to do it. Buddha and Buddhism is not going to do it. Hinduism is not going to do it. There is nothing that's going to be able to get our people up out of the conditions other than the laws and commandments of our God. We've forgotten his law, we've forgotten his commandments, and we have to humble ourselves and be willing to be retaught. Let's go to Matthew 19:16 through 19.
The book of Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 16. And it says, And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments. He said unto him, Jesus, which Jesus, thou shalt do no murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
So we've been going through this. The young man asked him what we need to do, or what he needs to do to get eternal life. In other words, to get the kingdom of heaven. It's a question we all should be asking. And Christ laid the answer out to him. Keep the commandments. It's not, it's simple. Keep the commandments. You don't want to have to rely on America for SNAP benefits, EBT. Well, what are some of the other ones? Section 8.
Mhm.
You don't want to have to rely on America for any of that. Keep the commandments. You don't want to have to rely on your enemies for education. Keep the commandments. It's simple. You don't want to be harassed by the police just walking down the street, driving down the street, sitting in a restaurant eating, because this is the kind of stuff that's happening, especially now that, Trump's back in office. You're seeing a whole lot of these videos popping up. People just sitting in restaurants eating, and an officer walking up to them and asking what are they doing there. Sitting in their cars. What are you doing here? Getting pulled over. Whose car is this? It's happening. You don't want these things to be going on or to happen. You want to get up out of this condition. You want to get the rulership. You want to get the kingdom. Keep the commandments. It's simple. What are the commandments is the question you should be asking, just like he did. He's like, which commandments? Which ones? And the Lord told him. So once again, we're going to lay out the 10 commandments to you. Just go to Exodus 20. You're going to read verses 1 through 17. What are the 10 commandments? We'll read them to you right out of the scriptures, right out the book. If you're somebody that really wants learning, you want to increase your learning, you want to increase your understanding, follow along and listen. Get your Bible and read right along with us.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy main servant, nor thy maiden servant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days be long up, the days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maiden servant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is in thy neighbor's.
So, laying it out, the Ten Commandments. The scriptures calls them the Ten Commandments. They are the Ten Commandments. Okay. So now, after you hear them, you learn what they are. Next question should be, okay, so how do I keep them? How do I keep commandment one? What does it mean? What about number two, three, four, and so on? Today we're dealing with number four again. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Get that in Exodus 20 and 8 again. Go up to verse 8.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. We got to ask the question, why was Israel told to remember the Sabbath day? Why? Why was that? We've gone over this before. Again, you will hear some of our brothers teach this and say, yeah, we were told to remember the Sabbath day because the Lord knew that we was gonna, was gonna come a time when we were gonna forget the Sabbath, which is partly true. That yeah, there was gonna come a time where we were going to forget the Sabbath day and not keep it. But here in Exodus 20 and 8, that's not the reason why he's telling us to remember the Sabbath day. He's telling us to remember something that he had expected us to have already known about it. It's like your parent telling you when they're leaving for work early in the morning, and they're like Junior or whatever, they kind of just name just popped in my head.
Mhm.
Don't forget to take that trash out before you go to school. Little kids, the kids laying in the bed like, oh, okay, all right. Why would the parents be telling, remember to take that trash out before you go to school? It's a couple of reasons. Number one, to remind them, don't forget to take that garbage out before you leave for school. Because I know there's a chance that when you get up for school, you're going to be so lazy, you might go to school and forget. So I got to remind you. Number two, you should have known to take the garbage out last night before even getting in the bed. Before even doing it, you should have already taken the garbage out. Because whatever night your garbage gets picked up, if it's a Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it is, that night before, usually people put it out before. Um, we honestly don't put ours out until the morning. You know what I mean? Right as we're leaving, because you know that the garbage truck isn't coming. We're leaving early in the morning. So it makes it easier because, you put it out at the curb. You got to put it in the back of the car. Then you got to move the can, back the car out. get the car in the street, then come out, put the garbage cans back. So to avoid that, these are like, you know what, just wait till we're leaving. So in our situation, a little bit different. All right. But in most cases, most people put the garbage can out the night before. Remember to put it out there, something you should have known already. And I'm just using that as an example. But with the Sabbath day, the Lord is telling us to remember the Sabbath day because he had already given the Sabbath day to the children of Israel. The Sabbath was already created. Let's go to Genesis 2 real quick. Genesis 2 and 1 through 3. So the Lord had already established the seventh day rest in the very beginning. But as far as teaching it to the people, he didn't do so until he gave it to the children of Israel. They've been keeping the Sabbath day up in the heavens. They've been doing that. But here on earth, it wasn't given to Noah, it wasn't given to Shem, it wasn't given to Abraham, it wasn't given to Isaac. It was given to the Israelites. It wasn't even given to Jacob himself. He wasn't around anymore when the commandments was given. In fact, the 12 patriarchs were already dead and gone by the time the Israelites got taken up out of Egypt. All right. So in reality, the 12 patriarchs didn't get the Sabbath day. All right. So where are we at? Genesis 2 and 1 through 3.
The book of Genesis, chapter 2 and verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made.
All right. So from the creation, the seventh day rest was created by the Most High. All right. It was already created. It was already in play in the heavens, but here on earth, it wasn't done. Just to also show, let's go to Exodus. Oh my gosh, where was I about to go? Just popped in my head and left. Oh, Exodus 1. So I want to show you that the 12 patriarchs and Jacob and them, they were all dead by the time um, the Israelites were given the 7 day rest. Um, let's go to 1 and 1 and through 13.
The book of Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob: Reuben, Simon, Levi, and Judah; Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin; Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters, to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, uh, Python and Ramesses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, and they made their lives.
Right. Stop at 13. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. So we're going here to show you, as I just said, going back up to verse 6. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. So this happened years after Joseph and all the 12 patriarchs and his brothers. His dad was already gone. Um, so all of that happened before the Pharaoh put the Israelites into captivity and started to um, put them in put them to work. So they weren't around to get the Sabbath day. They were gone already. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. So when I was saying that um, Jacob himself didn't receive um, the Sabbath day, the 12 patriarchs didn't receive the Sabbath day. None of that generation. Remember, there's 70 souls that went into Egypt. None of that generation, all that whole generation was dead and gone already, way before the Lord gave the Sabbath to the children of Israel, which we're going to show you he gave to Israel before they left Egypt. I'm going to say it again. The reason why, let's go back to Exodus 20 and 8 and read it one more time.
Book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
The reason why he was telling them to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy is because they had been given the Sabbath day before they left Egypt. All right. And you read about that where? In the book of Jasher. That's why when people say that, Jasher and these other books, they don't, I don't want to get into it, but um, yeah, you read these books and they precept right along with the other scriptures. Jasher, Enoch, Jasher is mentioned twice by name in the scriptures. So um, I'm gonna listen to the Bible. All right, I'm not gonna listen to man. Go to Joshua 10 and 13. Show you out of the scriptures, right out of the scriptures, that the book of Jasher is mentioned 2 times in the Bible. And then the new excuse is, well, we have no way of knowing if that's the real Jasher or not. Like, come on, man. Stop playing games.
The book of Joshua, chapter 10 and verse 13. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day.
As it says, is not this written in the book of Jasher? All right, let's go to 2 Samuel 1 and 18. Hold on 1 second.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 1 and verse 18. Also, he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher.
Read it one more time.
Also, he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher.
Just give me a second. I'm trying to. Okay. Just be in my other bag. All right. So you can see 2 Samuel 1 and 18. Also, he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher. All right. So it's mentioned twice in the scriptures. Okay. So going back to Exodus 20 and 8, read it one more time.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20, and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. So let me share 1 second. Oh man, I'm going to do this. All right, let me share. I'm trying to figure out how I can do it. Give me a second. Stop screen. Share. Window. Here we go. Let me know when you can see this. You can see it?
There, yeah, there it is.
Okay. So this is the book of Jasher, chapter 70. And we're going to start reading from verse 40. And we're going to read down to verse 51. Can you read it from there?
No.
You can't see it?
No, can't read it.
It's all for you? Okay, I'll read it. So this is the book of Jasher, chapter 70 and verse 40. It says, and Moses was in the king's house going out and coming in. The Lord gave him favor in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants, and in the eyes of all the people of Egypt, and they loved Moses exceedingly. And the day arrived when Moses went to Goshen to see his brethren, that he saw the children of Israel in their burdens and hard labor. And Moses was grieved on their account. And Moses returned to Egypt and came to the house of Pharaoh and came before the king. And Moses bowed down before the king. And Moses said unto Pharaoh, I pray thee, my Lord, I have come to seek a small request from thee. Turn not away my face empty. And Pharaoh said unto him, speak. And Moses said unto Pharaoh, let there be given unto thy servants, the children of Israel who are in Goshen, 1 day to rest therein from their labor. And the king answered Moses and said, behold, I have lifted up thy face in this thing to grant thy request. And Pharaoh ordered a proclamation to be issued throughout Egypt and Goshen, saying, to you, all the children of Israel, thus says the king, for 6 days you shall do your work and labor, but on the seventh day you shall rest, and shall not perform any work. Thus shall you do all the days as the king and Moses the son of Bethiah have commanded. Verse 48. And Moses rejoiced at this thing which the king had granted to him, and all the children of Israel did as Moses ordered them. Verse 49. For this thing was from the Lord to the children of Israel. For the Lord had begun to remember the children of Israel to save them for the sake of their fathers. And the Lord was with Moses, and his fame went throughout Egypt. And Moses became great in the eyes of all the Egyptians, and in the eyes of all the children of Israel, seeking good for his people Israel, and speaking words of peace regarding them to the king. All right. So here in the book of Joshua, it shows us that the children of Israel were given the 7 day Sabbath before they actually left Egypt. So now when you go back to Exodus 20 and 8, let's go ahead and read that again.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
So remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Go ahead and read on.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy maiden servant, nor thy maid servant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
All right. So in it, he's letting us know that this had been from the beginning when the Lord made the heaven and the earth in 6 days. And on the seventh day, he rested and he hallowed the seventh day. He made it holy. He set it apart. He had done that from the beginning. All right. He gave the Sabbath day to the children of Israel when they were working rigorously under the Egyptians. They're making them serve with rigor. So, yeah, the word would be rigorously, all right, under the Egyptians. And Moses went to the Pharaoh and asked for them to have a day of rest on the seventh day, which was, as it says, was from the Lord. The Lord orchestrated this whole thing. All right. So that was the start of them getting the seventh day Sabbath. And remember, at that point, that's all they knew of the Sabbath day. It was a day of rest. You work 6 days, and on the seventh day, you get a rest. Okay. And the fourth commandment shows how important it is because it was something that the Lord had actually established, as we're showing you at the very beginning. For in 6 days, the Lord made heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. All right, go back to Genesis 2 and 1 through 3 one more time and read it. We're going to go back and read it again. This is when it was implemented.
The book of Genesis, chapter 2 and verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made.
All right. So, what is the Sabbath day? We got to keep this in mind. The Sabbath day is a day of rest. Let's go back to Exodus 20 and 8 through 11 again. I know it's going to get monotonous. We're going to be going back and forth a little bit, but want to really drive the point home.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy maiden servant, nor thy maiden servant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
All right. So, a day of rest. Let's find some more precepts that establishes that the Sabbath day was a seventh day of rest. Go to Deuteronomy 5. And you're going to read verses 12 through 15, which essentially says about the same thing as we read in Exodus 20 and 8, but it's just worded a little bit different.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5 and verse 12. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord thy God had commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy maiden servant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of the cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy man that thy many rest as well as thou. And remember that thou was a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out of thence through a mighty hand by the stretched out arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day.
So how much more do you need to understand that it was given to the children of Israel before they left Egypt? In Exodus 20 and 8, let me go back and show you again. I'm not making this up, showing you right here on the screen. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. First, he's telling us to remember the Sabbath day. Why? Let's go back to Deuteronomy 5. Now he's saying, keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. So yeah, he's reminding us the same thing again. 6 days you labor, 7 days you rest. But on the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor the stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. So now he's letting us know that you guys have manservants and maidservants. Who were our manservants and maidservants? Remember the mixed multitude that followed us out of the other nations? They were our manservants and our maidservants, our men servants and our maidservants. They became our servants. The Lord brought them out for them to serve us, just like is going to happen again. There's going to be a remnant of the other nations who are going to be set aside, that when we get salvation, they're going to be there to serve us. All right. So um, some of our people are playing word games and semantics that, see, that means that they're going to get salvation. That means they can get the kingdom. If that was so, that means that they're going to be on the same equal playing field as us. And that's not what's happening. They're not receiving salvation, they're receiving servitude. How is that salvation? We're serving servitude and we're getting salvation out of servitude. So, how is taking them and putting them into servitude salvation? Does that make sense? It doesn't make any sense at all. This argument that these Christians and now some of our own people are making about the other nations being saved. It's crazy. But what I wanted to get to is verse 15. Why did he tell us this? And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore, the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. Thus, further showing what we just read in Jasher is absolutely true. He had given us the Sabbath day before we left Egypt. That's why the Sabbath day has to do with, it's like, why is he tying it into Egypt? Like, what does the Sabbath day got to do with us being in Egypt? Couldn't he have said that about all the commandments? You're going to keep commandment one because you were a servant in Egypt. You were serving other gods in Egypt. Now you're serving me. commandment too. Couldn't he have said that about all the commandments? But there is a specific reason why he stated that about commandment 4. Because again, what we just read in Jasher, that the Sabbath day was given to the children of Israel before we ever left Egypt. All right. Cannot keep stressing it enough. Okay. Um, so give me 1 second. All right. Let me look something up. Um, oh, I know. Give me a second. grab, grab my Bible real quick. I don't know why my mind's going blank. I cannot. Let me go for Samuel. Uh-oh. I want to show you something else. I don't know why it's escaping my brain right now. All right. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 24. And you're going to go to verse 13. And then let me. All right. So I got it now. You got it. Go ahead and read it. 1 Samuel 24 and 13.
The book of First Samuel, chapter 24 and verse 13. I said, the proverb of the ancients, wickedness proceedeth from the wicked, but my hand shall not be upon thee.
You know what? Start at verse 11. Let's go up to verse 11 and read through 13.
Verse 11. It says, moreover, my father, see the skirt of thy robe in my hand, for in that I cut off the skirt of thy robe and killed thee not, Know thou and see that there is neither evil nor transgression in my hand, and I have not sinned against thee, yet thou huntest my soul to take it. The Lord judgeth between me and thee, and the Lord avenge me of thee, but my hand shall not be upon thee. As said the proverb of the ancients, wickedness proceeded from the wicked, but my hand shall not be upon thee.
All right. So what is going on here is, remember, Saul um, was looking for King David. He wanted to kill him. David was hiding in the darkness. Saul didn't see him. David was able to creep up on him, and he could have killed him. But instead of doing so, he just cut off a piece of his garment to let him know that, you know what, I could have killed you and you wouldn't even known I was coming. He said, I'm not going to do that though. As much as you, basically what he's telling, as much as you want to kill me, I'm not going to do it. And David is quoting something here. And verse 12 is, the Lord judge between me and thee, and the Lord avenge me of thee, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. As saith the proverb of the ancients, wickedness proceeded from the wicked, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. All right. We've brought this out before. It just took me a second to find it. I don't know why it was escaping me. But what King David is quoting is a direct quote from the book of Jasher. What we're reading right here in 1 Samuel 24:13. So everybody says that the book of Jasher is not, what did it say? It's not, what's the word they use? Oh my gosh, you hear these Christians say it all the time about the Apocrypha.
It's not
It's
canon.
not, there you go, it's not canon. And so you've got our people saying the same thing about Jasher and about um, Enoch and things like that. So it's like, if these books are not canon, why are our forefathers quoting them in the scriptures? All right. So I'm going to show you. So let me go back to Jasher. That's why I had to grab my Bible. I had a precept in my Bible, but for some reason I couldn't remember where it was at. So I had to actually grab my physical Bible. So we're going to go to Jasher. Let me stop sharing that screen and go back to Jasher. Let me know you can see it.
There it is.
All right. So this is the book of Jasher, chapter 7. I'll go back up, show you it's chapter 7. This is Jasher, chapter 7. All right. Going to go down to verse 48. Verse 48. And everyone that heard of the acts of Mardon, the son of Nimrod, would say concerning him, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness. Therefore it became a proverb in the whole earth, saying, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness. And it was current in the words of men from that time to this. So this had become a common saying among men, and King David was quoting this and using this proverb when he was talking to Saul. Where is this coming from? This direct quote from Jasher, not making it up. Okay. So again, I'm going to listen to the word of God. You guys, and again, a lot of your leaders, they have read these books. I'm going to say it again. They've read Jasher, they've read Enoch, and they've read many of the other books. And they teach you things out of the books all the time. You just don't know they're teaching it to you because they tell you don't read the book. Oh, don't read those books. That's garbage. That's trash. It's not canon. It's fake. They tell you that, but yet they teach you stories out of it all the time. And the reason why you don't know that they're teaching you these stories out of Jasher and out of Enoch is because you haven't read them, because they told you not to. So when they're teaching you stuff out of it, you have no clue. You have no idea. All right. So let's go back to 1 Samuel again. Let me stop this one again. So next time your leader or whoever you're learning under is telling you don't read these books, oops, wrong one. Get the book out and show them, like, so if this isn't canon or if these books are fake, why is King David himself quoting directly from Jasher? The Lord judge between me and thee, and the Lord avenge me of thee, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. As saith the proverb of the ancients, wickedness proceeded from the wicked, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. And we just showed you 2 times out of the scriptures where the book of Jasher is directly named in the scriptures twice. Just saying. All right. So now let's move on. So we've got that established, that The Israelites were given the Sabbath day of rest before they left Egypt. That's why we're being told, remember the Sabbath day. And also in Deuteronomy 5 and 12, let's go back to there, Deuteronomy chapter 5 and verse 15. And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore, the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. All right. So don't need to drive that home anymore. So the Sabbath day is a Sabbath day of rest. All right. Let's go back to Exodus. We're going to go to chapter 31 and read verses 12 through 17.
The book of Exodus, chapter 31, and verse 12. And it says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily, my Sabbath ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you. You shall keep the Sabbaths, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Every one that defiled it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in that Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore, the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed.
All right. So we can see that the Sabbath was given to the children of Israel. The Lord made this covenant of the Sabbath day only with the children of Israel. That's why in verse 16 it says, Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. I remember one time we were there was a family that were 7 Day Adventists. We'd see them all the time. And I went to show them, like, why would you keep going to this church that's lying to you? Like, there's nowhere in the scriptures where the Lord said that he made the Sabbath day for all nations. And that's what the 7 Day Adventists teach. Yeah, they keep the Sabbath. They keep the Saturday Sabbath. The Lord didn't make the Sabbath day. He didn't make the covenant of the Sabbath day with the 7 Day Adventist church. They're lying to people. But there are millions and millions and millions of people around the world that are going to these 7 Day Adventist churches and worshiping and think that they're keeping God's commandments. And, well, to a point they are, but it wasn't with them. The covenant of the Sabbath, the 7 Day Sabbath wasn't made with them. So they want to keep that lie going to the point to where they're trying to, we're not the children of Israel, that they are the church that God's coming to. Everybody wants to say that they're the church. You've
Right.
got the Jehovah's Witnesses saying that they're the church God is coming for, or Christ is coming back for. You've got the Iglesia Ni Cristo church out of the Philippines saying that they're the church Christ is coming back for. You got the 7 Day Adventists saying that they're the ones. You got the Mormons saying, no, 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 it's us. You got the Methodists saying, no, they're wrong, it's us. The Protestants, no, 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 it's us. The Baptists, no, it's everybody. All Christians, all people, all creeds, all colors and nationality. And so we're being lied to. We're reading it right here, and that's why you got to go by God's words and stop listening to man. Read it again. Verse 12, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily, my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. He does not say between me and everybody, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. So right here, we're finally seeing that there is actually some consequence to not keeping the Sabbath day. While they were in Egypt, they knew that they got to rest. It was a blessing from the Lord, but there was no real consequence given for not keeping it. That came later after they left Egypt. And the Lord is like, okay, this is the Sabbath day. This is why I'm giving it to you. I established it from the very beginning, from the time of creation. I gave it to you while you were in Egypt, while you were under the bondage of the Egyptians and the Pharaoh, to help you out, to give you, to lighten the load on you. And then I decided I'm going to come and get you up out of there. But now that you're out of there, you better remember that you used to be a bondman and bondwomen to the Egyptians. You were in servitude to them. And I gave you this commandment to keep. And now that you're out of there, I expect you to keep it. But I'm going to go further now. Now I'm letting you know that if you don't keep it, there's going to be a consequence for it. And that consequence is going to be death. I'm going to kill you. You break my covenant, you break my commandment, you're toast. You're done. Just kapooey, kaput. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath. Notice he doesn't say everybody. Notice the Bible nowhere says that everybody's a child of God. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of God. The Sabbath day was only a covenant the Lord made with so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, the children of Israel, not made with everybody. Okay. So that's why our enemies can get away with lying to us and tell us that our service day to the Lord is on Sunday. Because they know ain't nothing going to happen to them for going to church on Sunday. It was made for them. You want to go serve idolatry on Sunday? By all means, go ahead and do it. But you children of Israel better not be doing it. But they say, oh, come on, we're all one. We're all one people. We've been hearing that for a long time, being duped, and our people are still falling for it. All right. Let's go back to Genesis. You're gonna give me 1 second. All right. So I pray that's clear. Okay, that the children of Israel were given the Sabbath day before they left. So we're going to get into the next stage of this lesson about when the Sabbath begins. All right, because we know that the Lord gave him the Sabbath day. We know that the Sabbath is a day of rest. 6 days you do your work. On the seventh day, you rest. Okay, so the reason why we have to throw this into the lesson is because at one time there was a particular group of people that started teaching that the Sabbath begins in the morning and goes morning to morning. Remember, you started hearing that for a little while. It started catching steam for just a bit. The morning Sabbath. The Sabbath don't start in the evening. It starts in the morning, morning to morning. You don't hear about it anymore. What happened? That's what I want to know. Like, what happened to these people that were teaching that? Did they come to the realization that they were wrong and they're not keeping it that way anymore? They're just not saying anybody out of uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Out of shame. You know what I mean? That they're ashamed that they, started teaching this, and instead of admitting that they were wrong, they're just silently falling to the wayside so that they don't have to put it out there that they came up with this doctrine falsely. All right. But it became a time a few years ago where people started teaching that the Sabbath starts in the morning, and that the Lord created the Sabbath to be morning to morning, not evening to evening. We're going to show you that that's false. That the Sabbath starts in the evening at sundown, from evening to evening, from even to even. All right, there's no disputing it. So we're going to go back to the beginning when the Lord established the Sabbath. Let's go to Genesis 1 again. We're going to read verses 1 through 5. So Genesis 1 and 1 through 5.
The book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, Let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
All right. So this should be the wake up call that they should have gotten right here. He first says, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So right here, yeah, he started with the day, and then he ended with the darkness he called night. But he flipped it to make sure we understood. This is when the day actually starts. And the evening and the morning were the first day. He didn't say, and the morning and the evening were the first day, because if that was correct, he would have stayed in line with what was going on in verse 5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. You got to remember, the darkness was there first, not the light. Let's read it again. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, Let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. The darkness was already there. The darkness was first. And the evening and the morning were the first day. All right. So, for the sake of time, we're not going to read it all. We're just going to skip down. Let's go to Genesis 1 and 8. Go down to verse 8.
Verse 8. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day.
And the evening and the morning were the second day. So it went from even to morning. That was the first day. The second day went from even to morning. What about the third day? Go to verse 13.
Verse 13. And the evening and the morning were the third day.
Third day, go to verse 19.
Verse 19. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
A fourth day. Let's go to verse 23.
Verse 23. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day.
And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Let's go to verse 31.
Verse 31. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
So you can see from day to day, it started with the evening and ended with the morning. Evening to evening is how it works. Evening to evening. All right. Let's go to Judges 19. You're going to read verses 1 through 9 again. What are we showing? Let me take that down. What are we showing? That the day starts with the evening. The Sabbath starts in the evening and ends in the evening. All right. Um, Judges 19 and verse 1.
The book of Judges, chapter 19 and verse 1. And it came to pass in those days, when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took to him a concubine out of Bethel, Bethlehem, Judah. And verse 2. And his concubine played the whore against him, and went away from him unto her father's house to Bethlehem, Judah, and was there 4 whole months. And her husband arose and went after her to speak freely unto her, and to bring her again, having his servant with him and a couple of asses, and she brought him into her father's house. And when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him. And his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him, and he abode with him 3 days. So they did eat and drink and lodged there. And it came to pass on the fourth day, when they arose early in the morning, that he rose up to depart. And the damsel's father said unto his son-in-law, comfort thine heart with a morsel of bread, and afterward go your way. And they sat down and did eat and drink, both of them together. For the damsel's father had said unto to the man, be content, I pray thee, and tarry all night, and let thine heart be merry. And when the man arose up to depart, his father-in-law urged him. Therefore he lodged there again. And he arose early in the morning on the fifth day to depart. And the damsel father said, comfort thine heart, I pray thee. And they tarried until afternoon, and they did eat both of them. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel father said, draw towards evening, I pray you, tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end. Lodge here, that thine heart may be merry. And tomorrow get you early on your way, that thou mayest go home.
All right. So this is heavy. You got to understand what he's saying. All right. So he's saying, and when the man arose up to depart, he and his concubine, which is crazy, he took his concubine to his wife's father's house. That's crazy. You see what the Lord let our people get away with? But it says, in his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father said unto him, behold, now the day draweth toward evening. So it was daytime. It was starting to get evening. Think about right now, the time has changed. Maybe around 4:45, 5 o'clock, the sun's starting to go down. You're starting to see it get, get darker and darker and darker. So he's saying, behold, now the day draweth toward evening. I pray you tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end. So, in other words, he is acknowledging to him that as the sun is going down, going towards evening, that the day is coming to an end, which means that when that sun is down and it's dark outside, the next day is going to begin, which is tomorrow. And he's saying, the day groweth to an end. Lodge here that thine heart may be merry, and tomorrow get you early on your way that thou mayest go home. So, how is that hard to understand? That the day begins and ends in the evening, evening to evening, not morning to morning. Okay, let's go to Jeremiah 6. You're going to read verses 3 through 5.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 6 and verse 3. The shepherds with their flocks shall come unto her. They shall pitch their tents against her round about. They shall feed every one in his place. Prepare ye war against her. Arise, and let us go up at noon. Woe unto us, for the day goeth away, for the shadow of the evening are stretched out. Arise, and let us go by night, and let us destroy her places. For
So
thus had
let's
the
look up to verse 5. So this is another place where we're showing you that shows that the day comes to an end in the evening, and the next day begins in the evening. Woe unto us, for the day goeth away, for the shadows of the evening are stretched out. In other words, and the day is getting darker, the sky is getting darker, the day is coming to an end. Can't make it up. We're not making this up. You know, I pray that the people that were teaching that morning to morning that they saw the error of their ways and they're not teaching anymore, because, like I said, it was gaining steam for a hot minute, and now you don't hear anything about it anymore. It's just kind of fallen by the wayside, which I pray that it has. I pray that these guys have saw the error of their ways. They've grown in wisdom and realized that what they were teaching was false, and and have repented. It would be nice though if they did do that, they would come out and acknowledge and be honest that, hey, look, we were wrong. We thought that it was saying this, but we found out. But if they are still keeping it from morning to morning, that they read these scriptures and come to understand that morning is wrong. All right, so let's go to Luke 24 and 29.
the book of Luke, chapter 24 and verse 29.
And this is in the New Testament.
And it says, but they constrained him, saying, abide with us, for it is towards evening, and the day is forspent. And he went to tarry with them.
All right. So it's saying the same thing. We're showing this is the third place we're showing you in the scriptures where it's telling you that the day is coming to an end. The sky is getting darker, it's growing towards evening, and the day is coming to an end. But they constrain him, saying, abide with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is far spent. And he went in to tarry with them. So, in other words, the day is coming to an end, just like we read in the other places. All right. And this is the New Testament. Let's go to the book of Psalms. We're going to read Psalms 104 and verses 19 through 24.
The book of Psalms, chapter 104 and verse 19. He appointed the moon for seasons, the sun knoweth his going down. Thou makest darkness and it is night, wherein all the beasts of the forest do creep forth. The young lions roar after their prey and seek their meat from God. The sun ariseth, they gather themselves together and lay down in their dens. Man goeth forth unto his work, to his labor until the evening. O Lord, how manifold are thy works! In wisdom hast thou made them all. The earth is full of thy riches.
All right. So here it is. Man goes forth into his work and to his labor until the evening. Now we know there are some jobs that most, some people may do that requires you to work in the evening. Police officers, doctors, you know what I mean? What are some ambulance drivers and firemen, you know what I mean? These are jobs that require somebody to be there at all times. Like the watchmen back in the day, they were the ones that were watching over the city. Um, so we know though there are some exceptions to that, but overall, why do most jobs, is called a 9 to 5? Start in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, usually get off about 5 o'clock in the evening, right as the sun is about to go down and end work. All right. So it was no different. You started your work in the morning and went to your work all the way until the evening when the sun went down. All right. So let's go to Leviticus 11 and 39.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 11 and verse 39. And if any beast of which ye may eat die, he that toucheth it, the carcass thereof, shall be unclean. No, hold on.
That was right.
Until the evening.
All right. So reason why we're bringing, got a couple more I'm going to show you. Reason why we're bringing these about basically clean and unclean is that if you had an issue that made you unclean, when you look at the scriptures, in most cases, you were unclean until the evening. Why until the evening? Because it was the start of a new day. So at the end of that day, you were dirty, you were unclean until the next day began. All right, so that's the reason why we're throwing these in here. Let's go to Leviticus 15:16. Got a couple more of them we'll show you. Leviticus 15:16. Which, there we go. Oh man.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 15 and verse 16. And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and he be unclean until the evening.
So it's the same thing. A man's seed of copulation. That's talking about sperm. Okay. So if that comes out of the man, he's unclean. He should wash himself in water and he's going to be unclean until the even. All right. Let's go to verse 19. Stay in verse 15, go to verse 19.
Verse 19. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue is in her flesh, behold, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the evening.
So when the lady has her menstrual cycle, we're commanded we're not supposed to lay down with our wives when she's on her menstrual cycle. But if you happen to do it on accident and the issue gets on you, then the man is, you're going to be unclean until the evening. Why the evening? Again, because that's when the next day is going to begin. You're going to be filthy, you're going to be unclean for that day. And then when the evening comes, you're going to be clean. All right. Pray this makes sense. So the next thing we're going to get into. So we know when the Sabbath starts. starts on the seventh day at even and ends at evening of the first day of the week. Okay, so evening to evening, even to even. Friday night, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. And you notice there's, you don't read in the scriptures about the lunar Sabbath because there are some of our brothers that are following after the lunar Sabbath. Um, and that's off also, that's unfounded. All right. But we're going to get into what is required of Israel on the Sabbath day. What is required of us? We already know that we're not to work on the Sabbath day. Okay. One of the things that is required of us is that we're not supposed to work. All right, let's go to Exodus 34 and 21.
The book of Exodus, chapter 34 and verse 21. 6 days thou shalt work, but on the seventh day thou shalt rest. In earing time and in harvest thou shalt rest.
All right, so we've already had multiple scriptures we've gone over showing that we're not supposed to work. Here's one more. Let's go to Leviticus 23 and 3.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 3. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is a Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
Okay, so that's established. We're not supposed to work. What else are we expected to do? There's no cooking on the Sabbath. Exodus 35 and 3.
Book of Exodus, chapter 35 and verse 35 and verse 3. You shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations up on the Sabbath day.
You shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day. All right. What does it mean to kindle the fire? Let's go to Jeremiah 7 and 18, just in case somebody is simple and they're like, well, how do you know when it says kindle the fire? That means to cook. Jeremiah 7 and 18 clarifies it.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 7 and verse 18. The children gather wood, and the father kindle the fire, and the woman knead their dough to make cakes to the queen of heaven, and to pour out drinks offering unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger.
All right. So this is talking about us doing this to other gods. But the fact of the matter is that when it says the fathers kindle the fire and the women knead their dough, it's talking about the steps that are being taken to cook. All right. So kindling a fire is referring to cooking. Let's go to Exodus 16:23.
The book of Exodus, chapter 16 and verse 23. And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord had said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which you will bake today, and see that you will see, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning.
All right. So we're being told that whatever it is that we're going to make, whatever we're going to cook or eat for the Sabbath day, we need to prepare it the day ahead, prepare it in advance. Okay. So this is that which the Lord had said. Tomorrow is the rest of the Holy Sabbath. All right. It's not saying the rest of the Holy Sabbath as if the Sabbath has already begun and you have the rest of the day to finish it. That's not the rest that it's talking about. It's talking about rest as in resting and meaning doing no work. Tomorrow is the rest of the Holy Sabbath, meaning the day that we're supposed to not work. We're supposed to rest. All right, bake that which you will bake today, and seethe or boil that you will seethe. All right, and that which remaineth over, lay up for you to be kept until the morning. So whatever it is you're gonna eat for the Sabbath, prepare it the day before. Okay, what else is there expected of us on the Sabbath? We're not supposed to do any buying or selling. We mentioned that earlier in the lesson that with everything going on right now, there's a lot of our people out right now probably breaking the Sabbath, going out buying and selling. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 10, and we're going to read verse 31.
Go. The book of Nehemiah, chapter 10 and verse 31. And if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we will not buy it of them on the Sabbath or on the holy day, and that we will the leave the seventh year and the exactions of every debt.
All right. So what was happening is that on Sabbath day, the other nations would come in through the gates. They'd be out there selling, trying to get our people to buy and sell on the Sabbath day. And Nehemiah made them go away. You know, in fact, you read about it, he went and put hands on people for trying to get our people to break the Sabbath day. Told them, don't come back. All right, let's go to Nehemiah, stay in Nehemiah, go to chapter 13. You're going to read verses 15 through 22. So we're not supposed to be buying and selling. So, you know, the other nations, they want to be out at the stores, you know, buying and selling and carrying on. By all means, they can do it. The Lord's not dealing with them. He didn't give them the Sabbath day. But you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are expected to be keeping the Sabbath day. All right.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 13 and verse 15. In those days saw I in Judah some trending wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves and landing asses, as also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day.
So
And
think
I
of
said,
the donkey. They got the donkey with the two saddles on it. And, you know, they got the saddles full of, you know, whether it's grapes or figs or, you know, any other kind of fruits or whatever it is they're selling. The people are bringing it. Think of like a flea market. You know what I mean? The people are coming in with their trailers, they're setting up their tents and everything, and got all their. Back then, they didn't have vehicles towing trailers. They had the donkeys with the saddles, and they were marching these things in and setting up, and you know, to sell to our people. All right, so that's what we're reading about. Okay, go ahead.
and I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah and said unto them, what evil thing is this that ye do and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet you bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be open until after the Sabbath. And some of my servants said I at the gates that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. So the merchants and sellers of all kinds of ware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. Then I testified against them and said unto them, why lodge ye about the wall? If ye do so again, I will lay hands on you, from that time forward came no more on the Sabbath.
All
And I
right. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Verse 22.
and I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves and that they should come and keep the gates to sanctify the Sabbath day. Remember me, oh my God, concerning this also, and spare me according to the greatness of thy mercy.
All right. So, like we were saying, so basically, um, Nehemiah saw that, it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Had the other nations coming in with their supplies to sell to the children of Judah. He went to the leaders of Judah and was like, what's going on? You guys are buying this stuff from these people, profaning the Lord's Sabbath day. You saw what our forefathers did. You read about it. You know what they did. Now you're going to bring more. Look at what the Lord's doing to us. We're already in captivity. We're already getting beaten down and treated like third class citizens. And you guys are going to bring more evil upon us by breaking the Sabbath day. So he kicked all them people out the land. Like, you know what? Don't you guys come back in here on the Sabbath day, selling to our people. But they tried to be slick and they stayed outside the gates, you know, hoping that, they'll catch the Israelites as they're coming and going through the gates. And he went out there and told, like, you know what, you guys get out here. I catch you here again. I'm going to put hands on you. In other words, I catch you here again. I'm going to knock you out. So that scared them enough that they didn't come back. All right. So we're not supposed to be buying or selling on the Sabbath. All right. What else are we not supposed to do? We're not supposed to be doing our own pleasure. Let's go to Isaiah 58 and 13 through 14.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 58 and verse 13. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thy own ways, nor finding thy own pleasure, nor speaking thy own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father. From the mouth of the Lord had spoken it.
All right. So we're not supposed to be doing our own pleasure on the Sabbath day. So whatever it is that pleasures us, everybody's different. Okay. Sitting around, just kicking it, watching, movies all day long, binge watching TV shows all day long. You know what I mean? And I'm talking to the point to where you're not even thinking about the Lord on the Sabbath. You're not studying the Bible. You're not reading the Bible. You're not teaching or anything like that. You're, congregating. You're just doing what you want to do. You know what? Like, oh man, I'm gonna go to the beach today. Or, it's starting to get wintertime. I'm gonna go out, and do some snowboarding. I'm gonna go to the snow, go skiing. Or you know what? I'm gonna take off and go to the movies today. Where we're not supposed to be doing our own pleasure on the Lord's Sabbath day. All right. Um, let's go to Sirach 25 and 21.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 25 and verse 21. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, desire her not for pleasure.
So why would we throw this in there? The reason why I throw this precept in here is because there is a controversy in Israel where some people teach that we're not supposed to have sex on the Sabbath day. Some people say that it's no big thing, that we can do it. But in reality, okay, because I know we've all been guilty of it, especially before we came into the truth of breaking the Sabbath by laying down with your wife or whatever, you had back in the day. But the scripture says, stumble not at the beauty of a woman and desire her not for pleasure. So we're using this as example to show that the scriptures, when it's talking about pleasure, it's also talking about sex. Okay, because what is it that a man is desiring of a woman when he sees a beautiful woman? He's looking at her and he's lusting after her, and especially if he's not a man of God, of course he's looking at her because he desires to have her. Desire to have her for what? For pleasure. All right. So that's what it says. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure. In other words, desire her not for sex. We'll show you another. Go to Genesis 18:12 to show that when it's talking about pleasure, it's talking about sex.
The book of Genesis, chapter 18 and verse 12. Therefore, Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also?
So this is when the angels came and told Abraham that Sarah, at her old age and at his old age, she would become pregnant. They'd have a kid. She laughed. She's like, "Are you serious? Like, I'm gonna have pleasure at my old age. In other words, I'm gonna have sex at my age. No, that ain't happening." But the Lord overheard her, and he chastised her a little bit. All right, but again, the word pleasure, as we read in Isaiah 58:13, not doing our own pleasure, sex is part of that. Okay, no matter how you try and justify it, any of us, all right, we're not supposed to do it. Let's go to Proverbs 21:17.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 21 and verse 17. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich.
So the scriptures warns us, he that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. So is that only just talking about sex? No, it's not. Because everybody's different. For some, pleasure, it could be sex. They could be addicted to sex. There's a thing called sex addiction, as a sex addiction nowadays. Some people may be addicted to gambling. Some people may be out at the casino right now on the Sabbath day gambling because they got a gambling problem. Or watching, what's going on Saturday, college football on Saturday, betting on the games, trying to make a buck, or losing money on the Sabbath day because they've got a gambling addiction. All right. Um, well, it would be sundown probably if there was a fight or anything. I don't know if there is, but if there was a boxing match or an MMA match or something tonight, the Sabbath would be over. So it wouldn't, be that bad for them to watch. But if they're gambling, we as the Israelites, we shouldn't be getting involved in gambling. All right. We shouldn't be, doing any of that at all. Some people's pleasure again um, might be reading. For a woman, it might be reading their favorite romance novels, sitting around reading your romance novel all day instead of reading the Bible. For some people, it could be sitting at home watching porn on the Sabbath day, having a porn addiction that runs rampant, in this world. And there's no telling how many of our Israelite brothers and sisters are still battling with that. All right. So you got to be careful. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. Another one just popped in my head. What about some of our brothers that, have an alcohol addiction? Because we've seen it. Brothers sitting, you see what I have here? This was like pink lemonade I was drinking. All right. Usually, if you see me drinking anything, it's either water, some kind of juice, or Canada Dry. I don't know why I have this thing for Canada Dry ever since I had COVID. It's weird. Um, Trying to, I don't drink it a lot. It's just, whenever I'm talking a lot like this on the Sabbath day, to drink Canada Dry, I don't know why. It just kind of soothes the thirst. I don't know. But I never really drink it. And then after I had COVID, for some reason, I drank it while I had COVID. My wife gave it to me to kind of, soothe the stomach and all that. When you're a kid, your mom will give you like 7 Up and stuff like that when you're sick, had the flu. And for
Mhm.
whatever reason, um, because I never drank sodas like that, like that before, and all of a sudden I just had this craving for Canada Dry. So um, we all have, you know what I mean, things that we have to work with that we gotta, repent from. Maybe I need to stop drinking that. Well, I have stopped, drinking. I haven't been drinking it that much. So I've been drinking other stuff lately. I haven't been drinking the Canada Dry on the Sabbath lately. But again, alcohol addiction. We have seen some of our brothers on the Sabbath day, and this ain't juice they're drinking. They've got this full of beer, hard liquor. You know what I mean? I don't. I've never drank in my life, so I don't even know what some of the hard liquors that some of our people be drinking. But you be seeing them. They're sitting right there in front of the camera with their drink in hand and telling you that there is nothing wrong with drinking on the Sabbath day while they're teaching. Okay. So again, that's um, another pleasure that some of our people deal with and battle with. So again, as it says, he that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. Why is that? Because you're spending so much of your money, so much of your time on this thing that you pleasure, like if it's gambling. You're gonna win more often than you're gonna lose more often than you win when you gamble. That's if you win at all. Especially, I don't get it. I don't understand how people can go to a casino, know that all of these slot machines, all of these, online gambling apps and all this kind of stuff that you're dealing with is all run by computers. You're basically banking on trusting the algorithm of the computer to determine whether or not you're going to win or lose. You really think they're going to program these computers to let you win? You know what I mean? It's like, how dumb could people be? It's set to, to give you a little, you see the old people in the casinos, ching, 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 ching. You may give them a few dollars here and there every once in a while to what? To keep them going back, keep them going back. Okay, it gave me a little bit, giving them that hope of that one big jackpot and keep putting their money in, putting their money in. And I haven't figured it out yet. Like, why do these old people love gambling so much?
Mm.
I'm serious. You be seeing like, whole busloads of elderly people going out to casinos and stuff to go gamble. And it's like, why do these gambling places, these casinos take advantage of these old people like that? You know what I mean? It's like that shows they got no conscience. Like you're
Right.
gonna let all these old people come in and spend up all their money in your casino, and these people have no problem taking it at all. But again, he that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. So if you love drinking, it's like you're not going to be rich. You're going to be spending too much of your money and your time drinking. Some people to the point to where, they drink so much to where they may lose their jobs. They're not going to be able to, keep a job because they're drinking too much. Maybe even show up to work drunk, depending on what kind of occupation you have. That could be real bad. You're reading about airline pilots, getting arrested in the cockpit because they showed up to work over, hungover or drunk. These things are happening in this wicked world today. Doctors showing up to work because they, drunk or hungover because they went out partying and drinking, the night before. You got to be real careful nowadays of who you trust. Attorneys, judges, police officers. You have police officers showing up drunk. And I was just watching a YouTube video the other day. Police officer got pulled over by another couple of officers because somebody called in. They were like, man, this officer's all over the road. He's like falling asleep. And at first they just thought maybe he had a long shift and was tired, until the other cops searched his squad car and found a bunch of cans of some kind of beer, behind the seat. He was drinking even while he was on duty. It's like, wait a minute, they have cameras in the car. Like, how dumb could he be? There's nobody not checking the cameras. But let me see, hold on, let me see if I can find that video. Just give me a minute, see if I can find it on YouTube. I can't believe it. I was like, man, like, how bad is it getting nowadays that you got officers showing up to work drunk? Yeah, I think this is it right here. Give me a. All right, let me share the screen. No, you can't make this stuff up. It's crazy. All right, so this is for educational purposes only. Well, what's the words people use? Freedom of, what do you call it?
Press.
Yeah. All right, but
DWI stop. A uniformed Albuquerque police officer walking the line on the side of the road after state police pulled him over. Tonight, video of that APD officer's arrest. It's another night patrolling New Mexico highways for one of the state's top DWI cops.
He was doing 112, I don't want to catch him.
But on this particular Sunday, early this month, State Police Sergeant Toby LaFave is about to make an unusual arrest after clocking a speeding SUV on I-25.
Not you got an APD unit, doing like over 100. Keeps driving off the road.
Sure enough,
how's it going? Good, how are you? Good.
He finds an Albuquerque police officer in full uniform behind the wheel.
What's the hurry?
I'm just in my way to work. I have like 11 minutes left.
Officer Jordan Hernandez tells the sergeant he only has a few minutes to get to work for his midnight shift. But Sergeant LaFave says not so fast.
You're not staying in your lane.
I'm sorry, boss. I have a low tire.
On the side of Bobby Foster, Hernandez tries to explain his driving.
I don't know why you keep going off the road. That's why I stopped you.
Honestly, can I show you why?
Well, you can tell me why.
It's because I don't have my other light or my other key, and so my other key it me up because I don't have my other key in the ignition, and so it's pulling on my belt. That's why. Like, I can show you, sir.
So that's why you can't stay in one lane?
No.
Okay, no. I asked you why can't you stay in one lane?
Because I'm trying to log on to all my stuff and everything like that.
Okay.
But the sergeant suggests a different explanation.
Mr. Hernandez, when did you last drink alcohol?
Yesterday.
Okay, I'm gonna check your eyes real quick.
Okay.
LaFave, who is well known in the state for his career putting drunk drivers behind bars, learns Hernandez graduated from the academy 3 years ago.
Was I one of your instructors?
No, sir.
He tells Hernandez he can smell the booze on his breath.
This is very awkward for me, Mr. Hernandez.
And starts the field sobriety tests. Hernandez has a few hiccups.
48, 47, 46, 44, 45, 44, 43.
From one officer of the law to another, Sergeant Lefebvre breaks the difficult news.
Unfortunately, Mr. Hernandez, I believe that you're well over the legal limit. You are now under arrest for driving under the influence of intoxicating liquor and/or drugs.
He calls Hernandez's boss to pick up the patrol car and the officer's gear.
Got him at 112. 112.
Back at the station, Hernandez chit-chats with the sergeant, but refuses the breathalyzer before spending the night behind bars.
Okay, let you know if you need.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
APD put Hernandez on administrative leave after his arrest. He is now charged with aggravated DWI, speeding, and failure to maintain his lane.
All right.
A Kaiser Permanente Medicare and Medi-Cal health.
So look at the number of videos. Raw video. Maryland lawmaker charges. This is the same one. PCSO deputy arrested for DUI. Police officer arrested by co-workers for alleged DWI after failing sobriety test. Drunk driving arrest of Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office Lieutenant Brian Filpiak. ICE agent busted for DUI with his kids in his truck. Drunk cop arrested for DUI while on the job. You can't make this stuff up. You got to be real careful nowadays, because a lot of the people that are in a position of authority, a position of trust to the public, you got a lot of irresponsible people that somehow made it through school, made it through college, and now they're in the workforce, and these are police officers, they're doctors, they're nurses, and they're doing some stupid stuff. Like I said, imagine having to go get surgery, and the doctor that's performing your surgery gets called in, and he was out at the bar drinking with his buddies. Like, oh man, I gotta go. They're calling me in. I gotta go do a surgery. And shows up to the hospital drunk. This stuff is happening. You know what I mean? And then wondering how they're finding tools and stuff like that embedded in people after their surgery that they forgot to take, tools and stuff like that they're using for the surgery out. But again, pleasure. Everybody's pleasure is different. So we're not supposed to do our own pleasure on the Sabbath day. All right. Let me see. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 19. You're going to read verse 5.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 19 and verse 5. Whoso taketh pleasure in wickedness shall be condemned, but he that resisteth pleasure crowneth his life.
Whoso taketh pleasure in wickedness shall be condemned, but he that resisteth pleasures crowneth his life. Straightforward. Let's go to Isaiah 56 and 2.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 56 and verse 2. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil.
All right. So we got to make sure that we're not polluting the Lord's Sabbath day, that we're not doing our own pleasures. We're not working. We're not cooking. You're not buying and selling, and doing your own pleasure, whatever, whatever gives you pleasure. Like I said, everybody's different. People find pleasure in different things. Your main thing to be focused on the Sabbath day is serving the Lord, meditating on the scriptures, fasting if possible, prayer throughout the day on the Sabbath day, and congregating together on the Sabbath day. All right. So what we're gonna do is we'll split this up for to finish it up next week. We still got quite a bit to go through dealing with the Sabbath. Pray so far, this is edifying for you. So with that, we're gonna say shalom. All right. Most High in Christ bless and enjoy the rest of the Sabbath day.